on the list.
Watching my son hooked up to a machine 3 full days a week, coming home exhausted, life on hold. It's a prison sentence.
It really is hard to take. I should be out enjoying life. If I didn't have that machine, I would be dead.
Once you're on the list, it's really a waiting game. It does take a bit out of you after a few months and you think, oh, we're never going to get a kidney, but you don't know what's coming through the door.
Very much. Thank you, sir.
There's no country that has a higher rate of living donation in the whole of Europe. And part of it obviously reflects Northern Ireland generosity and kindness that we have in our community.
We're the biggest living donor transplant programme in the UK, with the highest number of living donors per head of population of anywhere in the world, and we're the biggest centre in terms of the paired exchange scheme.
Our donors come from all walks of life, and we've seen a surge of people wanting to donate to strangers.
We went from where we would have had maybe 40 transplants in a year to over 130. We're doing something that transforms people's lives.
The only thing is you don't get to know them, which is my biggest regret. But maybe someday you'll be able to make contact and put your arms around them and thank them for giving me my life back.
Belfast City Hospital is one of the world's top centres for kidney transplantation.
Looks like a renal burn.
The internationally renowned renal unit has performed nearly 2,500 kidney transplants since it first opened its doors 50 years ago.
Today, we acknowledge and celebrate the societally enriching gift of life made possible by organ donors and their families.
Mark Dobson is one of around 5,000 people in the UK on the waiting list for a kidney transplant. He's hoping his mum Joanne will be able to donate one of her kidneys to him. Today, they are attending an event celebrating organ transplantation.
Well, my son Mark had kidney problems from birth, and he was very, very lucky to get his first transplant when he was only 15 back in 2009. And we had almost 9 years with having Mark back, having a normal childhood, normal life, being able to do normal family things. And then last year in January, Mark's kidneys started to fail, started to shut down, and the unbelievable happened in August when he had his transplanted kidney removed. Mark is back on dialysis 3 days a week until he gets the next transplant. But I'm going through my test currently to give Mark a kidney to give him a better chance of life, to get his life back.
Renal disease affects people of all ages, including pensioner Dorothy Maharg from Newton Ards. She recently celebrated her golden wedding anniversary with her husband Richard.
There used to be a dance hall called the Boom Boom Room, believe it or not, down in Arthur Square in the centre of Belfast, and I was 16. And to be quite honest, he actually danced with my chum first.
I took her friend out for a couple of dates, but then there was one night I was up in the dance and she was standing over the wall like. I said, she looks very lonely, so she does over there. So I took a walk over and asked her up to dance, and that's how it took off, like, you know.
He asked me to get engaged, and we got engaged. That was October. And then 2 years, a month off my 20th birthday, we got married.
In 2002, Dorothy discovered she had kidney problems.
Just one time I just felt a lump on my right side. And I went to the doctors, and the doctor just seemed a bit concerned and said that she would like me to have a scan. They discovered that I had enlarged polycystic kidneys and that I was in for a future of kidney problems. So I started attending the City Hospital. They said that the route that I would have to go down would be a transplant.
What we know is that there are more and more people who develop kidney failure, and there are more and more people that we consider suitable for a transplant. Back in the early days when we started transplanting, you had to be under 45, over 16, have nothing else wrong with you in order to be eligible for a transplant. Whereas now we're transplanting people who are much older, have other illnesses, because we know that if we get them a good transplant, they can still do very well. We transplant roughly 10 people a year who are over 70. We transplant people who have diabetes, who have heart conditions and other conditions. So the number of people we think who could benefit from a transplant is still rising. If you have a suitable living donor, that's the best possible treatment.
The earliest treatments for kidney disease in Belfast were introduced in 1959, before the first pioneering transplant operation 9 years later. The Renal Services Centre was formed by a talented young doctor who would go on to earn a global reputation.
In terms of those very early days, very often it was 50-50 chance as to whether you would survive with your transplant or not. But in Belfast, the outcomes were superb, so way better than anywhere else in the world, with early survival rates of about 80% in the first year, which no one else could actually match. Part of that was due to Dr. Molly McGeown, who led up that very first transplant programme.
Molly devised a thing called the Belfast recipe, which was based on very strict control of the patients, cautiousness in diagnosing rejection, and trying to avoid infection at all times. And of course, at first they had very few successes, but as time went on, they began to get better. And she recorded her very first success with the 4th patient she treated, which led to us having extremely good results, which actually were the envy of the world at that time. So it was very exciting, but very stressful as well. It was very much seat of the pants and only a very small team. The NHS did not provide her with many workers, so she used to use research fellows, and they came from all over the world. One particular one, Professor Demetrios Oreopoulos, who came from Greece.
Dr. Oreopoulos left a lasting impression in Belfast. His parting gift was to donate seeds taken from a famous oriental tree on the Greek island of Kos, a tree under which Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, first taught 23 centuries ago. Dr. Oreopoulos' seeds, planted in the grounds of the City Hospital, blossomed into this tree. And today, his son has flown to Belfast for a celebration.
The Erskine House tree represents many things to many people. To me, it represents this continuity of care. It's a living memorial to my father and Dr. McGeown and the embodiment of the values they lived by. My father always told all of his 4 kids, have a child, write a book, plant a tree. All of these things are things that can last beyond an individual's lifetime. And I think he felt grateful for the opportunity that this institution here had given him. And he wanted something that would have that feeling of thankfulness that persisted long after his lifespan. So for me, the things and the experiences that he had, the mentorship he received here in Northern Ireland with his teacher, Dr. McGeown, really were what started and nurtured him for the rest of his career in life and set him off properly. So it's very important, a very emotional event coming back here today.
The dialysis unit at Belfast City Hospital is one of 6 centres in Northern Ireland. There are over 750 people who require the treatment provided by these units. Essential treatment which keeps them alive. Some of these people are on the waiting list for a kidney transplant.
Our kidneys, when they are working well, have many functions. Primarily, most people will think that the kidneys produce urine, and they do, but they also clean toxins from our blood. So the dialysis machine has to take over that role if your kidneys are no longer doing that. I love working in this unit. I think the fact that I'm here 21 years is testament to that. But dialysis is very special to me. You build up a great rapport with your patients. You get very attached to people who are here for a long time. Sometimes you could say you spend more time with the patients than you do your own family at home. Renal failure has a big impact on the patients. Not only does it affect them, it affects their families. For one thing, a patient coming in here has to give up 12 hours a week of their own individual time. They have travel to and from the unit, which for some patients can be considerable. And then their dialysis can leave them feeling very washed out, and that kind of a knock-on effect. Some patients are trying to hold down full-time jobs, and they have to have very supportive employers who will look after them.
Running a motorcycling team is a full-time occupation for Roger McGee from Crossgar. He juggles bikes with an intensive schedule of dialysis. And he's on the list for a new kidney.
In 2003, I had a kidney infection and attended the doctor. And he wasn't happy with some of the blood results, so he sent me to the Belfast City Hospital and was diagnosed with polycystic kidneys. We've known since then that this day was going to come, that I'd have to have dialysis, and that happened 16th of December.
So yeah, it looks good. There's no issues with it at all, I don't think. I can't see, the only thing I can't see is right in, sorry Roger.
The first thing that happens whenever you come in through the door, you get weighed so that they can gauge what they need to set the machine on. And then the dialysis nurse then puts you on the machine using either a line which will have fitted in the neck, or else through a fistula in your left arm. And once you're on the machine, then it takes 4 hours after that.
My husband decided he would like to give a kidney, and said, well, there's this pool system. And what the pool is, I would get a donor, their kidney would match mine, and my husband, because his didn't match mine, he would donate his kidney to somebody else.
There's always a possibility, like, you know, that it wasn't going to match. I always thought that, like, but I knew that with me donating one, it's going to give Dorothy a better outlook in life. Like.
You all right?
I try to do as much as I can, and I feel I'm keeping Richard back at times, things he wants me to do with him. And I haven't the energy just to do it. And I'm looking forward to getting back to all that again. And I know I will, for I've great faith in it.
Once we've agreed that this is a potential donor and a suitable donor, then I'll go through the various risks involved in the operation of having a kidney removed, but also the risks of living for the rest of your life with a single kidney. It's a bit like flying a plane. You can always fly a plane with one engine. It's nice that we're able to use one kidney. We were made with 2 as a backup, so if one went wrong, we always had a second one.
So we've got an instrument in both hands, so this is what we're going to do the operation with. This is the colon here. This is the spleen up here. So we need to move all of these forward to get at the kidney, which will be sitting in and around here. But
I usually like to get the operation done with a keyhole technique, which involves 3 or 4 small cuts whereas before it was a large 14 or 15 centimetre cut under the ribs. We can now take this out with the keyhole technique, and this really benefits the patients in terms of their speed of recovery.
So you guys can see the little blue structure there, just in through this little window. That's the vein that's draining the kidney. That's called the renal vein. And we want to get as much of that as we possibly can to make it easier to transplant later on today.
The kidney's delivered through a small hole in the groin. Then the kidney's perfused on the back bench to remove all the blood and to keep the kidney nice and cool while we're waiting for the recipient to have their operation where we can reperfuse the blood back into that kidney when we've transplanted it.
For his dialysis treatment, Mark Dobson attends Daisy Hill Hospital in Newry. He's already had nearly 400 hours of treatment.
I'll be very tired, but if I had no choice, if I didn't have that machine, I would be dead. You get used to it, but it is like a prison sentence being stuck in dialysis for 3 days a week, 4 hours at a time. So I should be out enjoying life now. And then when people think you're off dialysis, that's it, but to come home, you're sleeping, you're tired, and it really is hard to take.
Everything revolves around dialysis. Watching my son hooked up to a machine, exhausted, totally life on hold, life in reverse almost, watching through the window but not being able to take part. It's quite a surreal feeling then to think, well, possibly I have it within myself. Give him the ultimate gift. I'm so proud of you. I can't believe that you donated it yourself.
I know. It is hard to take, like 24 and being stuck in a machine. I was able to go places, a farm with my dad, able to walk up and down, work in the yard, drive the tractors, just normal stuff that a normal teenager, going out with my friends, just having fun.
I got a phone call to say that some lovely person had come on off the street and donated a kidney, and it matched mine. And God willing, I will be having my transplant.
The kidney which will be transplanted into Dorothy has been donated by an anonymous donor in London, so preparations are being made to transport the organ to Belfast. Her husband Richard's kidney will in turn be donated to a recipient in England.
The kidney sharing scheme started in 2006 in the UK, and it's an amazing system. It really is. I mean, it sounds very simple. It takes a huge amount of organising, but actually the principle, I guess, is simple, that we swap living donor kidneys to whoever they match best.
The coordination of transplants, particularly within the kidney sharing scheme where we share kidneys throughout the UK, it takes a lot of operational planning. We would charter aircraft to bring the kidney to Belfast and coordinate ambulances to bring it from airports to make sure the team are all in place at the right time so that that kidney is transplanted in a timely manner.
After an anxious 2-hour delay because of storms in London, Dorothy's kidney arrives at Belfast City Airport. A kidney can survive outside of the body for up to 48 hours, but 4 hours from removal to transplant is the optimum time.
Coordinated kidney transplant takes a lot of collaborative work with other disciplines within our department and also externally. We have very close links with our counterparts in mainland UK for transplantation, so very often we would be ringing each other at 7 o'clock in the morning. The patients would be on standby and all of the team are coordinated to start surgery at the same time. We have to be meticulous in our planning to bring it all together. The role of the coordinator is fundamental to make the transplant happen. I have to say that the role of living donor coordinator is the most rewarding job that I have done within my nursing career. You see someone come in who's really, quite poorly, and when they leave, it's unbelievable the difference that you've made to their lives.
In Belfast, we're very strong advocates of using this kidney sharing scheme, probably more so than other centres, but we see a real benefit for people in terms of being able to get a good quality live donor transplant that's a good match for you. In terms of the short and long term outcomes are very, very good.
At the Dobson family farm in Waringstown, life for Mark is a real struggle. But his mum has received news.
I was so pleased that the results come back that I'm able to do this for Mark, because you do be very, very nervous going through all the tests in case they say, no, it's not going to work this time, because it's something that's very, very special. The bond will be there forever. Mark jokes he'll maybe develop an interest in shopping, but we'll have to wait and see when he gets my kidney.
We went in with Dr. Courtney and says, Mark, I've something to tell you. Says your time's coming, your mum's a match. And I just near burst out crying. I says, I can't believe it. So thankful to my mother, she really is changing my life.
It's the night before Joanne and Mark's operations, and they are both admitted onto the top floor of the tower block.
I think I'll be nervous, but I'll have to sleep with big day tomorrow.
I just want to go and do it now. I want to, if we could wheel us down now, we would do it. We're going through all our pre-tests, all our bloods, everything tonight, but strangely calm and excited. I'm very, very much looking forward to tomorrow.
I feel honoured because she's just the best mum to me, because she's saving my life tomorrow morning. She's giving me a kidney, and it's the best thing I think a mother could ever do for her son.
After a restless night's sleep, it's time for their surgery. Both operations will be completed on the same day, with Joanne's first.
Nothing more.
I'll see you later. Good sweetheart.
Northern Irish population are an incredibly giving or altruistic population, and whenever I discuss whether a patient needs a new kidney or not, there's a queue of family members sitting outside fighting over who wants to give their kidney to their loved one. It's a real privilege to see families together in that moment.
Not every person has a family member or friend to donate to. Some people, like Belfast resident Anthony Lovelace, decide to give a kidney to a complete stranger.
I've always been a blood donor since I was 18, and it was just something I've wanted to do. I turned 50 last year, and I think I've had quite a lucky and privileged life, and I just wanted to give something back. And I think 300 or so people a year die for want of a new kidney, and almost every man, woman and child in the United Kingdom is walking around with two but only needs one. I was admitted on the Sunday, went down 8:30 on the Monday morning, was back in the ward by 2 o'clock, and the following lunchtime I was well enough to be discharged home. I know that mine went to a 65-year-old in the Liverpool area, and I received a letter from him a month or so ago, just really touching. He's doing really well. His partner donated to somebody she was a match to. I think that was a 50-something man in the middle of England, and his partner then donated to somebody in the London area. And they're all doing brilliantly. For me, it might sound trite, but the whole thing was almost like a minor inconvenience. It was a couple of days in hospital, a week or two of a bit of minor discomfort, and I'm back to how I was before. I haven't noticed any difference whatsoever.
Joanne Dobson's operation is over. Now it's her son Mark's turn for his surgery.
Kidney transplant can take anything from an hour and a half to 6 hours, depending on the complexity of the surgery. A lot of people think we need to remove the old kidneys. In fact, we leave those well alone. What we use is the blood supply of the leg. We hitchhike the blood out of the leg into the new kidney, and that's all that we need to drive the new kidney.
So it's a bit like a big Meccano set. What it does is it holds the tissue out for us to save one of the assistants having to hold a retractor, so it's really helpful. Frees up a whole load of assistance.
The benefit of having the kidney down in the groin is that it's close to the bladder, so that it's easy to drain the urine out of the kidney when the urine starts to come.
Okay, so we've got the external iliac artery here, giving off the internal iliac artery probably around here. So this is the common iliac artery here, and this is our patient's native ureters. So what we've got to do is we've got to make it safe to operate in these blood vessels now, so we've got to take off all the surrounding tissue in order to make it able to clamp it.
What we do is we isolate the iliac artery and the iliac vein, which are the artery and vein in the pelvis, and we stitch the kidney artery onto the iliac artery and the kidney vein onto the iliac vein, and then we stitch the ureter onto the bladder, and hopefully that's all it takes. It's quite a demanding but satisfying technical operation of actually stitching a kidney in. But the satisfaction really comes when we see the kidney go pink and we see a kidney come back to life. That's a hugely satisfying moment.
So what I'm doing now is just tying the knot to complete the join. Then we're going to let the blood back into the kidney. There's no blood in that kidney because it was flushed out whenever it was removed earlier on today. The kidney will go from white to pink. Okay, kidney's reperfused. Okay, and here's the kidneys going nice and pink.
By and large, it's a very successful operation. About 98% of the kidneys that we transplant are still working in a year's time. So if it is working in a year, then the chances are that it'll work longer into the future. And then the ultimate satisfaction is a number of months down the line, seeing the transformational effect that a kidney transplant has had on one of our patients' lives, where they come into clinic and they say, "Tim, I've got my life back again," and that really is the moment when you realise that this is the best job in the world.
Not everyone who receives a transplant knows who the donor of his or her kidney is. Many families who have lost their loved ones make the tough decision to donate organs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me and my family here today. I'm very proud of my mummy because she saved 5 people's lives by donating her organs. And this time has been very lucky for us by creating a new memory about organ donation and our mum. But further ado, can we cut the ribbon now, please?
go.
My wife passed away during childbirth, giving birth to our fourth child just over 8 years ago. She suffered a massive brain hemorrhage literally seconds after giving birth. There was no signs and anything, so we were only in our 30s, so we'd never ever actually had a conversation. So it was very hard for me then to think, and shock as well, because I think we're going through that grief process. For then a doctor or a nurse to come up to me and ask me that question, would you like to have your wife's organs donated, was a bit of a shock. But as I knew she was such a kind person and loving person in life, I knew that definitely was the right thing to do. And it's proven that over the years where we've seen not only that she only saved one person's life, but in fact 5 people's lives were saved through Denise's donation. And just to feel that and have that with the children growing up is amazing, because I've got 4 young children and they've really gone through the meal growing up. What happened to their mum was so tragic. I mean, they were so young at the time. My eldest was only 5.5. Had a 4-year-old, an 18-month and a brand new baby, and it was such a hard time that I tried to find a positive spin. And by having Denise's organs donated, we've actually learned to move not on, but we've learned to move forward with Denise's memories, and it's just been amazing to actually do that through organ donation.
And these people are right behind the trees. If you come up to here, come right in that way a wee bit.
I guess when you get a kidney from someone who has died and donated their organs, you do think that was a very difficult decision for that family at that time. It does make it a little bit easier for that family if they know that that's what their loved one's wishes were, because at that time of death there are so many things that are going through those people's minds that organ donation is not one of them. It can be a difficult conversation. You're talking to people at a time of death. You're talking to them at a time whenever everything in their life has fallen apart. It usually happens very suddenly for them. But people and families are wonderful that they can see, actually, through death, we can help somebody else. And it's amazing how many people will actually say yes at that stage and benefit others at that time.
It's the day after Mark Dobson's kidney transplant. Joanne is anxious to see her son for the first time since their surgery.
You're looking so well. We did it, sweetheart. I can't believe you're sitting up and looking so well. Looking more to hug. How are you feeling? Oh, Mark, we did it. We did it, sweetheart. We did it. We did it. We did it. Happy birthday. For a week. Oh, it's a week early.
That's a week early.
Happy birthday, sweetheart. Oh, we did it. We nailed it. God, can't believe how well you're looking. How are you feeling?
Feeling well.
3 months after their operations, Dorothy and Richard are recuperating at their caravan in the coastal village of Malyle.
I'm feeling fantastic. I get tired, but I'm back to, well, even 2 weeks after I come out of hospital, I was doing bits of housework and I was making all the meals and doing the washing. But coming down here has been fantastic. And as the doctors say, we couldn't have convalesced in a better place. And it's all on the flat. And you can just walk out there and get a breath of fresh air, even those bad days, the rain. We're just sitting here lovely and cosy. I do feel a lot better an awful lot better than I did.
You say you do it and you just do it, like. But then when it's all over and I seen the way she is, like, you know, that's when you start biting in, like, you know. That my kidney was able to help her get a kidney, like, you know. Oh, when I was up getting one of my tests, one of the coordinators, she was taking blood tests and blood samples and whatnot, and she gave it to me, like, and he says, "There you are, that's for your deed that you done." We were up a day there, and there's a bloke there who had received a kidney. His sister gave him one, and we were sitting talking, like, you know, and the two of us were just sort of well, he received one, I donated one, like, and his sister was sitting beside him, like, and the wife was sitting beside me, like, and they're just sitting there awed at each other, like, that this has all happened, and there's 4 people there, 2 giving and 2 receiving, and the 2 people who receive are feeling very, very well, like, you know.
I actually wrote them a letter a couple of weeks ago, and like I'm not expecting an answer, and I said I would like to keep it. Now it was a bit shaky because I have a wee bit of a tremor with my medication, but they said that would go. And Deborah wanted to write it for me, and I says no, I'll do it, but I'll apologise for the writing on it. It's terrible, but I just wanted to do it myself to let them know how much I appreciate it, and that they should be very proud of themselves for what they've done to give me back my life. For they said it's just like a young person's kidney that I've got. The doctors even said I've a better kidney than what they have.
It's harvest time on the Dobson farm. Joanne and Mark's transplant surgery has been a resounding success.
Slowly returning to normal, helping my dad wee bits, stuff you wouldn't have been able to do when you're in dialysis, and hopefully planning for the future instead of wondering will the call ever come. But thanks to my mum, she really did save my life.
When you have a son and you're watching them very, very ill, hooked up to a dialysis machine, and you have it within yourself the power to be able to do it, to be able to give him back his life, there's no feeling in the world like it. Delighted to see how he is evolving and changing and coming back to health every single day, but very, very proud, very honoured to be able to have done it.
Just the most amazing thing anybody could ever have done. Just, I even love her even more. Yeah. But I think the bond has become even closer to my mum. She really saved my life.
I think the thought of it is worse than the reality. The reality is you go in, you go through an operation and you give someone life. There's nothing more powerful than that. For anyone considering live donation, I'm someone that didn't even like to go to the dentist. So for me, it was a wonderful experience and one which I'll never forget.
Mark, who missed watching his beloved Northern Ireland football team while in hospital having his operation, returns to the next game with his granddad. Life is very much back to normal. But for others, life on the list and that agonising wait for a kidney transplant continues.
It was quite a bit heavy on what I am now, and I've lost sort of 7.5 stone to get down to be able to get on the transplant list. Once you're on the list, it's really a waiting game. It does take a bit out of you after a few months, and you think, oh, we're never going to get a kidney, but certainly you just have to bide your time, and hopefully one day something will come along. Yeah, I would be a reasonably confident person, and I just know that someday I'm going to get that call. Could it be 3 in the morning or first thing in the morning? And you just have to be prepared to drop everything and just be up here within a few hours. It is luck of the draw a bit, but hopefully that day will come along soon.
Details of organisations offering information and support with organ transplants are available at the bbc.co.uk/actionline, or you can call for free at any time to hear recorded information on 08000 566 787.